What is up, everybody? Hey, my name is Chris McLean. This is Hater Radio, a college football media brand. I am without Ian tonight, so it's just me. This is the Week 7 preview show, so let's get into it. A lot of big games. One that I actually thought I was going to go to, but the logistics were going to be too crazy because I actually have a concert I'm going to on Friday night here in LA. And to try to get a flight early morning to then try to get to South Bend, Indiana by 6:30 game time, it would have been too tough. So whatever. It is what it is. I wanted to go because I thought actually when the game was originally brought to my attention in the beginning of the year, I was like, oh, it's like midway through the year. Both these teams should do pretty well. I've been hyping it up, and then, lo and behold, Notre Dame loses the last two games or last 2 out of 3 because they lost to Ohio State, beat Duke, and then lost to Louisville last week. So as far as the game coming in, with USC and Notre Dame, I would have thought that Notre Dame would have been a lot better in this game. But now, honestly, because it's like with 2 losses, this Notre Dame team is not, I don't know, there's not much to play for. And it's sad to say that. I wish this was next year where, potentially a 3-loss team could get into the playoff, which, most years is likely that a 3-loss team, especially if it's a team like Notre Dame, they're going to put in the playoff because of media attention and ratings. So, this year, though, is the last year of the 14 playoff. So Notre Dame is out of luck here because you really can only have 1 loss if you want a shot at the playoff. 2 losses at this point really hurts, even though they lost to 2 really good teams, and Louisville's up to 14th in the AP poll, and Ohio State is, I believe, like 6th or 7th. So, or no, even higher than that. I think Ohio State's like 3rd nationally. And so, it's definitely, a big game here. I mean, regardless of what happened to them, they lost a really good team. So it potentially would mean they may not be out of it. But I mean, I don't know. 2 losses. I don't think there's ever been a 2-loss team in the playoff that I can recall. But 1 loss is pretty much what all you get allowed in the potential of getting into the playoffs. So, like I said, I don't think there's a lot to play for here for Notre Dame. I think, yeah, it's a rivalry game and they want to win this game, but with, losing that game against Louisville, and honestly, the way they've played the last 3 weeks, they got held to 14 against Ohio State and like 13 against Duke, or maybe flip-flop that or something. They were in the teens in both of those games, and then in the game against Louisville, they only scored 20, and it was, largely because it was a garbage time touchdown at the end. But I don't know. I mean, the offense has been really missing the last couple of weeks, and I would not have thought that would have been the case with Sam Hartman at quarterback and the rest of the talent around him. Estime, the running back, has been great most of the year, missing in action last week. They had like less than 2 yards average on the ground per carry. So it was tough sledding for them last week. And Louisville looks really good. I'm not going to lie. This Louisville team and their schedule sets up so well. Like, you would be surprised. I don't think anyone realizes, because now they're undefeated going into the rest of the year. They have so many easy games the rest of the year that it's more than likely that Louisville ends up getting to the ACC championship game, which I'm actually intrigued because Clemson is not going to make it more than likely because they have 2 ACC losses already, and UNC, Florida State are undefeated as well. So it's likely one of those or two of those three teams make it, and which is good because I want to see one of those two teams match up against Florida State. I don't want Florida State just have an easy Duke participant in the other side of the ACC championship game like they did in, I believe, 2013 on their way to their championship, their only championship in the last 23 years. But let's see. I think Caleb Williams is going to be back on track. I like Notre Dame's defense, but I think USC is going to put up a lot of points. And that really is the difference in this game is Notre Dame has been struggling to score points while USC has not. USC has been still, even though they had a bad week last week, still, I know it was overtime, so it's a little skewed, but they still were able to put up 40-plus points last week, and I think the week before against Arizona State as well, and the week following that. So, all of these people saying all the offense is struggling. I don't see it that much. I know Caleb didn't have an accurate day on Saturday, but at least he was, made the plays that they needed to win the game. And the defense, like I said, if you had watched that game, you would have seen the plays that they made. As much as they struggled in a lot of it they gave up a lot of big plays. They came up with crucial stops, an interception that really changed the momentum of that game early on, and then that late stop with the 2-point conversion that they busted up really well. So I think that USC is going to win this game. I think USC is going to win probably like 35-20. I think Notre Dame will score a little bit, but they're not going to score a ton. Like I said, 35-20. That's what I got. Okay, moving on. The next game I got is another very interesting game. UCLA, Oregon State. UCLA coming off a huge win against Washington State, where really only if that pick six were taken out, they probably would have coasted to a victory there. But that pick six kind of really helped Washington State there. I mean, UCLA's defense is really good. I saw some ranking of some of the better defenses in the country earlier this week that I saw on a tweet, and UCLA was number one, a bunch of along with the rest of the good defenses. And I was just like, I can't remember what stat it was, but it was like obviously something pretty telling of like how good UCLA's defense is. Now it's juxtaposed with USC's because USC has been struggling, and they didn't fire Alex Grinch while UCLA did let go of their coordinator, and they have Lynn that came in, and he's done phenomenal. I mean, the defense looks night and day different. They're fast. They're getting to the ball. They're making plays. It's just a completely different mindset than they've had in years past. Like even just to last year, it's night and day. It's remarkable how well they're playing. And, I know Dante Moore has struggled a little bit. He had 2 interceptions last week as well. But he's a freshman, and he's been, good enough to get them to win these games. And the defense, I'm going to say, is very good. So they're able to keep them in these games, and regardless of what happens. Even in their loss against Utah, they were right there with them because of how good their defense was playing and kept them very close. Only allowed 7 points. The other 7 points were off a pick six. But, I like this UCLA team a lot. They're very under the radar. I don't think many people have even noticed them all year. I don't know why. They've been good the last 2 or 3 years that have put up pretty good numbers on offense. I don't know why people don't know who they are, considering Chip Kelly's the coach. They're in the second largest media market in the country, yet this is what they are. I mean, obviously taking a back seat to the Heisman Trophy winner in Caleb Williams and USC, that makes sense. But they're in their own right a very good team, and this is going to be a huge challenge on the road in Corvallis against Oregon State, who, as of right now, only has that loss to Washington State. And there's a lot to play for both of these teams because this is basically a Pac-12 eliminator. Whoever loses this game is probably out of contention for the Pac-12 championship. And it sucks because both these teams are really good, and you would like to see them as potential 10, 11 win, 10, 11 win game seasons. But as of right now, one of them is going to have 2 losses, and they might get 10 wins. But either way, the winner in this game is in the driver's seat to potentially get into the Pac-12 championship game. I like UCLA. I don't know if I like them in this game because it's different. It's a different animal up there in Corvallis. It's a very lively crowd. They're definitely hard to beat up there. And considering how good they've been the last 2 years, this is going to be a tough game for UCLA to win. I think they can, but I'm going to go with Oregon State. I'm going to say Oregon State wins a close one, probably like a 27-22 game, and maybe even like a late score to put them ahead to win that game. And I'm sorry, UCLA fans. And it has all to do with the fact that the game is in Corvallis. If it was in LA and Pasadena, I would definitely pick UCLA, but because it's on the road, it's a lot tougher, especially because it's Oregon State. It's a tougher environment, and how good they've been playing lately. Okay, moving on. Florida, South Carolina. I don't know what to say in this one because it's like, it feels like it's a really big game. And, it is just their, 4th SEC game. So it's right in the middle of their SEC schedule. It's before their bye week. It's before Georgia. The rest of the schedule sets out pretty tough. They've got games against Arkansas, Missouri, LSU, Florida State. So it's a tough road after this game. But if Florida can win this game, get to 5-2, get to a bye week, like I said, and then get to Georgia, anything is possible the rest of the year. But, realistically, let's look at it. They struggled against Utah and got beat pretty thoroughly. They weren't ready for that game, which is a shame because, you have all off season, and to only put up 11 points was, it just was disheartening. I expected more out of them in that game, and it didn't show up. I went to that game, and it was, the fans it felt like their heart got ripped out of their chest watching that game, and it was tough. And then you come in, you beat Tennessee, and it's sky's the limit. Everything's available. Whoa, we finally beat a rival. Everything is in front of us now. And I thought that after that game, not that they necessarily would have just taken off the Kentucky game, but it would have been a better performance because then it goes back down. Very similar performance as Utah. They, struggled early, put themselves in a huge hole, and they couldn't get out of it. And because they struggled in that game, it looked like, a lot of the fans were writing Billy off and ready to, break out the torches and storm the town and get rid of Billy. But now they come back and they beat Vanderbilt, and they're 4-2. Eugene Wilson wasn't in the game against Kentucky, and it was evident with how the offense was not very efficient, wasn't clicking. Graham Mertz was efficient. He's been efficient all year. I think he's at like an 80% completion percentage, which is insane. But the offense is much better with Trey Wilson. If he's out there, they're able to move the ball. They can make a difference with their motions, their screenplays. Everything is predicated on that, because if they don't have him, Ricky Pearsall does not garner the same attention as Trey. And, Montrell Johnson had a big game against Vanderbilt. Trayon Webb looked very good. This team can move the ball with the parts there. There's a couple other guys out this game. I believe Caleb Douglas is out because the the depth chart just got released like an hour ago. So I don't know. Arliss Boardingham looked great last week against Vanderbilt. I think he can have another big performance against South Carolina. Their defense is not very good, Florida's offense should be able to put points up against them. I'm not thinking like anything crazy, maybe like 27, 28. If the defense shows out like they have all year, besides the Kentucky game, I believe they can win this game. A lot of people are not thinking too highly of Florida coming into this game. I think most of the people have picked South Carolina. It's on the road. It's in Columbia. It's a tough game. I know that Shane Beamer is going to have the boys ready on special teams, which, needs to be a focus this week. Like, hey, dot your I's, cross your T's on these details. Pick up your right blocks, especially on, field goals and PAT attempts. Punt block, make sure you got the gunners, make sure you got the corners. Don't let anything in. It'll be probably special teams that may make a difference in this game, because I think Spencer Rattler is going to be able to move the ball a little bit, maybe not a ton, but getting that extra push from the special teams, if it's, blocking a kick or maybe returning a kickoff for a touchdown or something like that, getting points out of special teams that either go their way or prevent Florida from scoring could be the difference in the game. And I think it's going to be like I don't know. I think that Florida can score 28-29, like I was saying, but I think that South Carolina, with that special teams extra push, could be the difference. So I'm going to go with like South Carolina winning like 27-24, close one. And I think Florida just loses a heartbreaker, which I'm hoping doesn't happen, but I think this is what the reality is. I think the defense is going to play well again for Florida, and that's just my biggest hope. If the Florida defense can come through huge, that may make me wrong, which I hope I am wrong in this case. But anyways, all right, USF, wear green Wednesday. I got my shirt. I just got these from God, I can't remember. It's like the Alumni Association or something like that. It's something that I hadn't seen before that I just recently found this link for USF stuff. It's not Home Field. It's somebody else. But I got another old school one. And, for Wear Green Wednesday, because this being homecoming week, this is actually the logo that I actually have the shirt too. The first shirt I bought as a USF freshman in 2002. I mean, that's how old I am. I mean, it's been 21 years since I started school at South Florida. So, God, that is crazy to me to even say that. But no, they're going up against FAU for homecoming. I actually, I don't know too much about FAU. I really don't. I haven't really followed them this well this year. I know that their record is not that great. I know that Hartman is their coach. Tom Hartman. I think Tom Herman. Sorry, Hartman is that progressive talk radio guy. No, Tom Harmon from he used to be at Houston and Texas, and I know they've had a tough schedule because they played Clemson, they played Illinois, lost those games. They beat Tulsa, but they lost to Ohio, who's not very good, and they beat Monmouth. So they're They're 2-3, and this FAU team could beat USF, but they don't look to score a ton of points. So with that, I mean, even in their loss last week, USF, they put up 35 points and left a lot of points on the table as well. So they could have scored even more. They scored a ton against Rice. They scored a ton against Navy. Really, the only game that USF hasn't scored a lot in was against probably one of the best defenses in the country in Alabama. So expect USF to score a lot of points here. I'm expecting probably 42 points, and I'm going to say FAU scores like 28. Now, the defense is going to struggle because USF's defense has been I don't know. It's been kind of bad the last couple of weeks. I don't know what's going on. There was some injuries. They were banged up, but hopefully in this game that they can just make enough stops to give the ball back to USF. And hopefully in this game also Byron Brown limits the turnovers. He's got to keep that under control because especially fumbles. Like fumbles more than anything, you got to be able to hold on to the ball. Interceptions may happen. You may force a throw or whatever, and you can live with that. But a fumble, you got to hold on to the ball. I don't care. Like that is the biggest like pet peeve of mine. It's just holding on to the ball. Like I know running backs give it up a lot, but quarterbacks got to hold on to the ball, especially if he is running. He's got to be able to tuck it under, and it just seems like he's struggling with that. He needs to get better there because it's giving these teams they're playing better opportunities where UAB last week was able to score quickly and really take advantage. And, by halftime, it was 35-14. You're down 3 scores. It's a really big hill to climb up, and they weren't able to. So I think they're going to be in control of this game. It's homecoming. They have a lot going for them. It would be a big victory. And then next week they've got UConn. Hopefully they can get those 2, and then they end up 5-3. That's a really great start to start the year with, 2/3 of the way through the season. So we'll see. Hopefully they can get the win here, and I think they can. Okay, moving on to other games, not including the 4 teams that we cover. Georgia, Vanderbilt. This Vanderbilt team is not very good. They were better last year. Ray Davis, obviously a huge contributor and reason why he's no longer there. He's at Kentucky, and they've been – even though the offense is not terrible, the defense is very bad. And Georgia's going to have a field day. They'll probably score at least 60. I'm going to say like 60 to like 14. Okay, Ohio State, Purdue. Purdue has been the, proverbial giant killer the last, little while. I think there was a stat I saw where it was like they've had the most victories as an unranked team against like top ranked teams. Like I don't know what the exact number was, but it was quite a large number compared to some of these other schools, largely because they're usually unranked when they play Ohio State and Michigan. And but this time, I don't know. Brom's not there. Ohio State seems to be clicking now. They struggled a little bit against Maryland, but they did finish that game out and wore them down. I think that might be a similar game, like as of last week, the Maryland game. I think Ohio State's going to have about the same. Maybe it's close for a little while, and then Ohio State just takes advantage of their depth, and they probably win 35 to 20, something like that. I don't know what it is. I know if you follow this show, I'm not the biggest fan of Big Ten football. And I will say the caveat is hopefully with the addition of UCLA, USC, Washington, Oregon, 4 really good teams who are, have huge momentum coming into the Big Ten, might make a difference of where the competitive balance finally sways maybe towards the Big Ten against the SEC. I would, hope so, because those 4 teams have really good offenses, and I enjoy them. It's going to be quite a scare for all these Big Ten teams having to play really good teams finally, and I'm interested to see what happens with that in the next several years. So look out, Big Ten fans. You're going to get a real dose of reality when you finally have to play a lot of good teams. Okay, Syracuse, FSU. This Syracuse team, even last year FSU smoked them in the Carrier Dome. It's in Tallahassee. FSU should win at least 42 to probably 14. It's not going to be close. Syracuse is not a good team, and FSU, can move the ball, and their defense played better last week, but they still allowed a decent amount of points to a bad Vatek team. And that may be the key for this Florida State team. If they're going to get anywhere, their defense has to start performing up to the billing, which they allegedly thought they were up to. I don't think the defense is very good. But then again, I don't think Syracuse is very good overall. So I don't think they're not going to be able to score that much, regardless of how bad I think FSU's defense is. Like I said, Florida State will be able to move the ball and score at will. And so they should probably win, like I said, 42-14. Okay, moving on. Arkansas, Alabama. I feel so bad for Arkansas. Like, how terrible is it that you had such high hopes for the season? KJ Jefferson came back. Sanders, their running back, is there. They have a lot of good parts on offense, and they've just been a huge struggle bus all year. 2-4. Now coming into this game, if they go 2-5, I mean, I know Pittman's not on the hot seat because he's obviously done, decent to all right. I think he was like 9-3 one year, so he's done fairly well there considering it's Arkansas. But man, 2-5 is not a good look. The rest of the schedule is a lot easier because they now have A&M, Alabama, and LSU out of the way. They could potentially win a few more games the rest of the year, but oh boy, it's a real struggle. I feel bad for him, and I don't think it's going to go well for him in this game. I think Milroe is going to probably go off because Arkansas's defense, their 3-3-5 is not really something that I'm afraid of. I think that a lot of teams take advantage of it. And I think the Tide is going to do so in this. I think they're going to put up a lot of points. And like I said, Alabama's defense is really good. I think they're going to hold them to, probably like 17 points. And I think Alabama's going to score like 45. So 45-17 is what I got. I put this game on here, this next one, because I want to see what happens with Utah after that loss to Oregon State. So it's Cal, Utah. I know Cal is not very good, but Utah, is Cam Rising playing? I don't know. We've had this cat and mouse game for all season long. Is he going to play? Is he not going to play? I'm just going to say whatever at this point. Until I see him play on a Saturday, I'm assuming that he's not playing. But this is a game for them to get back off the carpet, to get off the schneid. And, I think they can win this game. It's in Salt Lake City at Rice-Eccles Stadiums. I think they can win this game easily. I think they're going to win probably 24-10. Because remember, their defense is really good. Like, as much as, their offense has been a mighty struggle to do anything, their defense is top-notch. And I believe they'll be able to stop them fairly well. Okay, moving on. Oregon, Washington. Oh my God, another game that I thought I was going to go to. Again, this concert kind of screwed me because of just the logistics of trying to get to these games. This game is at like 12:30 my time. So the concert, doesn't get over till like 11:30. If I was going to get home and it just would have been a huge mess. I probably can't afford these right now anyways. I'm going to wait till next year and the years coming up before I start doing a lot more games. But this was, this game and the USC Notre Dame game, I think I fell out of love with the USC Notre Dame game because Notre Dame was losing the last couple of weeks. But this game is an undefeated game between two undefeated teams. And it's just man, I really wish I could have gone to this one because this one is going to be huge hype. You got Bo Nix, Heisman hopeful. You got Michael Penix Jr., Heisman hopeful. Two huge offenses going up against each other. I mean, two huge rivals, last year as Pac-12 members. This is going to be one hell of a game. I am excited for this one. If you are not a fan of Pac-12 football, mark your calendar. Put an alarm for 12:30 to watch this game. This game is going to be electric. I know it. I guarantee it. There's no doubt in my mind it's going to be like a 45-40 game. It's going to be back and forth. And I know these teams have decent defenses, but it's going to be the offense is going to be the show. And it's going to be a show. Let me tell you, if you have not watched these two play, you're in for a real treat. I mean, Washington's wide receivers are studs. Both of them put up huge numbers every game. Penix Jr. is just a precision, like surgeon with these long balls. And Bo Nix, man, wow, what a difference going from one school to another has completely changed his trajectory. He potentially might get drafted in the NFL now, where when he was at Auburn had no shot, and now he's legitimately one of the top 10, maybe even top 5 quarterbacks coming into the draft into April. So exciting. Like I said, it's going to be like a 45-40 game, and basically last team, whoever has the ball last wins this game. That's what I'm thinking. I'm going to go with Washington only really because they're at home, and that's it. That's the only difference I see between these two teams. Both these teams are great, and this is not the end of the road for whoever loses this either, because one loss is not a death knell. They've got both a ton to play for, so hopefully it keeps going out for them. But again, both of them play. Washington plays USC, and USC plays Oregon. So these three teams, there's going to be a couple losses here with these three of them. So, and then they also have a bunch of them play Utah as well. So this is the Pac-12 gauntlet we've got going here. It's going to get crazy the next couple of weeks because they're all starting to play each other, and they're all very, very good teams. This would be such a great year for a 12-team playoff, because if they had 12 teams, I would say 4 of them would be coming from the Pac-12. But because we only have a 4-team playoff, we may only get 1. But I think there's a chance that we get 2. I think there is a chance that we get 2 Pac-12 teams, just if it falls the right way. If, depending on what happens, if the team that loses or that wins the Pac-12 championship obviously goes, but then potentially a team that doesn't go to the Pac-12 championship has only 1 loss, then they might be able to go as well. So it would be pretty wild stuff if that does happen. But I think there's a chance that could happen. Okay. Texas A&M, Tennessee. This is a tough game for Texas A&M because they already have 2 losses. They have a shot at the SEC West title, but going on the road in Knoxville, very tough game. I like Tennessee in this game, especially because they're at home. Tennessee has put up pretty big numbers the last couple of weeks since that loss to Florida. Can they continue that trend against A&M? A&M's defense is not bad. They held Alabama to only 26 points. Can they hold Tennessee to 20 points, around 27? I don't think they can. I think Tennessee is going to score a lot. I think they're going to score like 35 points. And I think A&M is going to probably score, I don't know. I think they maybe will score a little bit too. I'm going to say like A&M scores like 27. So like 35-27 is the score I'm going with. And I think Tennessee, and look at that. They had that 1 loss, but they have a lot to play for. They've got Georgia, Kentucky coming up. They've got Missouri, 3 big games against SEC East teams that they can get right back into the mix for the East title. So we'll see what happens with them. Okay, moving on. Kansas, Oklahoma State. I don't know too much about this Oklahoma State team just because I know they've been losing quite a bit. This Kansas team has been doing quite well. They lost to Texas, but Texas is a very good team. So I don't know. I want to see if Jalen Daniels is going to play. I don't think he is. But Bean has been quite a good replacement for him. I think Kansas wins this one. I'm going to say like close one, probably like a 28-24 game. Okay, Iowa, Wisconsin. I don't like either of these teams. I don't like the way their offenses are. It's a struggle to watch, especially with the offensive coordinator situation with Iowa and that like contract or whatever the ridiculousness it is. It's kind of absurd what's going on there. But I'm going to say, because it's in Madison, I'm going to say Wisconsin wins like 24 to like 14. Louisville, Pitt. Now, Louisville has a lot to play for in this game. They got to keep up to potentially get into the ACC championship game and outside chance potentially at the playoff. So I think Louisville has a lot to play for. Pitt has not been very good this year. They've been a struggle all year. I like Louisville in this one. I'm going to say Louisville wins probably like 35 to like 22. Okay, next game, Auburn LSU. I've always talked about this game, how this is one of my favorite games of years past because of how heavy hitting and how good the defenses used to be in this one. This LSU team is not that defense of years past. It's actually the quite opposite. It's a very bad defense. Auburn is trying to figure things out. They had a really good game against Georgia 2 weeks ago. I could see Auburn winning this game. I really can. And I'm going to say it's my upset. I'm going to say probably 28-27 game. And I would say that LSU is struggling on offense, and they haven't been. I mean, I would say with my prediction, that's what it would say. But I just think Auburn did enough against Georgia that they have confidence that they can probably implement some of those things against LSU. And I think they know they can move the ball against this LSU team. And that's why I'm giving my upset pick there. Okay, Miami, North Carolina. We talked about the Miami situation last week with the not being able to kneel down for whatever reason and running the ball and losing that game against Georgia Tech. This is a much better team than Georgia Tech. Drake May is a stud quarterback, projected as the number 2 overall quarterback coming into the NFL draft. He is probably going to destroy them. I'm going to say probably like a 42 to like 28 game because North Carolina's defense isn't amazing. But yeah, I just think North Carolina is going to get ahead of them probably early, keep pace, or Miami will keep pace, and then North Carolina will just be able to like ride out the clock in the fourth quarter. Okay, last two, Missouri, Kentucky. Both these teams coming off a loss. Missouri lost to LSU in a very close game. Kentucky got blown out by Georgia. It's in Lexington. Does Kentucky rebound? I think Missouri's going to win this game because Missouri's offense has been moving the ball quite well. And I think Kentucky obviously struggles against a good offense. I think Missouri's going to put up like 35 points. And I think Kentucky's still might be able to score a little bit. I think they're probably going to score like 24. So 35-24. Last one, NC State Duke. The only reason I put this one on here is to see how they do without Riley Leonard. I think Duke can win this game, but NC State is still a viable team. They're definitely not terrible. They're probably like a 7-5 team, but can Duke do things without their star quarterback? I think they can. They're going to struggle, but I think they'll still win this one. I'm going to say like they win probably like 24-17. Okay, that is the show. I might do an article, so look out for that on haterradio.com. I'll post it on all the socials in case you don't see it. But you can catch us on all the socials, TikTok, Insta, Threads, Twitter, X, at hater_radio. Facebook is Hater Radio CFB, and YouTube is at Hater Radio. That's the show. I'm Chris McLean. I will see you on Sunday. Enjoy these games. Ton of good games. You know, this is one of those weeks that you really should enjoy because it's just a lot of phenomenal matchups. I'm going to enjoy it, and I'll see you Sunday. All right, take care.